Imagine this: what if the world's stealthiest billionaire, disguised as an ordinary Joe, strolled into a sleepy diner for a juicy steak, only to have a waitress slide him a cryptic note that shatters his armored heart and rewires his entire empire? Buckle up, because this isn't just a story, it's a roller coaster of hidden fortunes, raw emotions, and life-altering kindness that will leave you inspired and reaching for the tissues. Welcome to Midnight Tales, where we uncover the extraordinary in the everyday. Hit that subscribe button now so you never miss these gripping narratives that remind us of the power of human connection. David Martinez perched in the worn vinyl booth, his roughened hands, calloused from weeks of pretending to be someone else, quivering as he unfolded the tiny scrap of paper. The waitress had slipped it under his coffee cup like a secret agent passing intel, her eyes flickering with something unspoken. Overhead, the fluorescent bulbs buzzed like distant thunder, casting stark shadows on the retro checkerboard floor that had seen decades of spilled coffee and shared secrets. But nothing, not even his boardroom battles or billion-dollar deals, could brace him for the words scrawled in elegant cursive on that crumpled napkin. For 42 relentless years, David had forged an empire from steel and strategy, commanding fortunes that could topple economies and lives alike. Yet in this unassuming corner diner, reeking of sizzling bacon and the sweat of real labor, a woman named Helen had just delivered him a treasure far richer than any merger, a nudge toward true humanity. Where are you tuning in from tonight? Drop it in the comments, maybe from a cozy couch or a late-night shift. Let's connect over this tale. Flashback 3 months, David, the enigmatic CEO of Martinez Industries, dropped a bombshell on his elite circle. No lavish yacht sabbaticals or exotic retreats for him. Instead, he vanished into thin air, shedding his opulent life like an old skin. Weary of sycophants and schemers who eyed his wealth like vultures, he craved authenticity, the kind money couldn't buy. So, in a move that would baffle any tycoon, he leased a cramped apartment in the quaint town of Millbrook, 3 hours from the glittering city lights, under a fake name. His bespoke suits, swapped for faded jeans and thrift store flannels that scratched like a reminder of humility. His manicured hands, now blistered from swinging hammers on a local construction crew, where he was just Dave the reliable guy who clocked in at dawn, busted his back, and blended into the crew like mortar between bricks. No one suspected Dave was David Martinez, the mogul whose decisions rippled through global markets. They saw a quiet soul who earned his keep through sweat, not spreadsheets. For the first time in ages, peace enveloped him like a warm blanket. No cutthroat negotiations, no empire-crushing choices, just the sweet burn of physical toil and the unfiltered banter of men who valued grit over greenbacks. Bonds formed over lunch breaks, laughs shared amid sawdust clouds. It was a world where worth was measured in character, not cash flow. His routine led him to Murphy's Diner, a timeless gem serving the community for over 3 decades. The coffee punched like a heavyweight, the meals were hearty and unpretentious, and the vibe, pure nostalgia, as if time had slowed to savor every bite. It became his sanctuary, a place where he could unwind without the weight of his hidden billions. Enter Helen Rodriguez, the heart and soul of Murphy's for 8 solid years. At 36, she wielded a smile that could melt the iciest customer and a wit sharpened by endless shifts dealing with divas, drunks, and dreamers. From Dave's first visit, she clocked him, not for standing out, but for his quiet grace. He murmured please and thank you like they were sacred, tidied his plates with care, and tipped generously yet subtly, avoiding the spotlight. Little did she know, David was observing her too, his sharp business acumen picking up on her magic. She memorized regulars' quirks, snuck extra treats to the lonely widower on Tuesdays, and turned frowns upside down with effortless empathy. In a life filled with fake flattery and ulterior motives, Helen's sincerity sparkled like a diamond in the rough. That fateful evening, David ordered his go-to, a medium-rare steak, fluffy mashed potatoes, and crisp green beans, comfort food crafted with love, not luxury. The diner hummed softly, with only a handful of patrons dotting the booths like stars in a quiet sky. Helen glided through her duties with her trademark poise, but David sensed a storm brewing beneath her calm. Her shoulders tensed like coiled springs, her radiant smile strained at the edges. As she poured his coffee, her fingers trembled, and their gazes locked in an electric moment that stole his breath, hinting at depths unseen. The note. Pure simplicity on a napkin, inked in Helen's flowing script. I don't know who you really are, but I know you're not just another construction worker. Whatever brought you here, I hope you find what you're looking for. P.S. Table 6 needs you tonight more than you know. David's gaze snapped to Table 6, where an old man hunched over his meatloaf, slicing it into neat squares but barely touching a forkful. His posture screamed defeat, eyes hollowed by sorrow deeper than years could carve. Confusion surged through David first. Had his facade cracked? Was Helen a gold digger who'd pegged him? Anger flickered next, a reflex from years of guarded living. But scanning her face across the room, he saw only purity, no greed, no games, just heartfelt worry for him and the stranger alike. Helen met his puzzled stare with a subtle nod toward the man, her eyes pleading. Kindness demands bravery sometimes. The elder was Frank Morrison, a retired mechanic who'd haunted Murphy's every Friday since losing his wife of 47 years 6 months prior. Helen had pieced together his tragedy through patient listening, the mark of someone who truly cares. Frank and Eleanor had claimed Table 6 for their weekly date nights, dreaming up adventures, doting on grandkids, basking in each other's glow. Now, he returned solo, not for sustenance, but to clutch at her ghost in the only spot it lingered. Before logic could intervene, David rose, his pulse racing faster than in any high-stakes deal. His inner tycoon wailed about risks, exposure, entanglements, shattered anonymity. But a buried instinct, long silenced by ambition, propelled him forward. Coffee in hand, he approached Table 6, heart thundering. "Excuse me," he said, voice softened like velvet. "I'm Dave. I've noticed you here before, and I wondered if you'd like some company. Eating alone gets old, and you seem like a man with stories worth hearing." Frank glanced up, etched with weariness from isolation's grip. A beat of silence hung, David bracing for rejection. Then, a softening, Frank motioned to the empty seat, a fragile bridge forming. From behind the counter, Helen watched, her chest swelling with unnamed warmth. In years of slinging plates, she'd never seen such swift compassion sparked by her gentle prod. Most folks were blind to others' quiet storms, but Dave, he dove in headfirst. If this moment tugs at your heartstrings, smash that like button. It fuels more stories like this on Midnight Tales. As David slid into the booth, he ventured into vulnerability he'd dodged for decades. Frank's hands, freckled with age and etched by labor, gripped his mug like a lifeline. "Been coming here 47 years, Frank murmured, memories waiting his words. "Eleanor and I had our first date 3 booths away. She ordered cherry pie, got so jittery she spilled half on her lap." His smile, a poignant mix of joy and ache. David's defenses fractured, a chink in his armor exposing raw feeling. "Tell me about her," he urged, ditching his emotional shields. Frank's face ignited with relief, unleashing a torrent of tales. Eleanor's room-filling laugh, her sneaky lunchbox notes, her humming symphonies over Sunday roasts. Yet beneath the warmth lurked agony. Eleanor's fatal heart attack stemmed from stress over Frank's prior health woes and crippling bills. Guilt devoured him, turning these dinners into self-inflicted penance. If I'd been tougher, taken better care, she wouldn't have fretted so. 47 years, and I'm why she's gone, Frank choked out. The confession slammed into David like a tidal wave, dwarfing his own hollow victories. While Frank grieved a profound love lost, David confronted his void. He'd barricaded himself from such bonds, fearing exploitation. Wealth had isolated him, turning relationships into transactions. Helen materialized then, bearing cherry pie unbidden, eyes glistening. "Eleanor always said the key to love is knowing when to talk and when to listen," she whispered. "She'd been seeing you honor her memory like this." Frank patted her hand fondly. This one's got a sixth sense for souls, reminds me of my Eleanor. Helen withdrew, but not before trading a knowing glance with David. See now. Have you ever faced grief like this? Share in the comments below. We're all in this together on Midnight Tales. David grasped it deeply, his riches paled against heartfelt ties. As night deepened, he shared veiled truths, his career feeling empty, accolades ringing hollow, annoying regretful ladders climbed at life's expense. Frank nodded sagely. From 47 years with Eleanor. Success ain't hoarding, it's giving. Money, time, love. Clutch it, it withers. Share it, it blooms beyond dreams. Those words pierced David, dismantling walls, birthing clarity. He envisioned his vast workforce, unseen faces, communities upended by his expansions, responsibilities shirked in profit's name. As closing neared, Helen checked on Frank's ride. Grandson working late. I'll cab it, he sighed. David jumped. Let me drive you, my old pickup's no limo, but it's yours. The ride buzzed with easy chat. At Frank's store, the old man paused. Dave, whatever you're chasing or fleeing, Eleanor's wisdom, best restart is now. Don't squander time thinking it's endless. David returned to the diner, finding Helen amid cleanup. Thank you, for the note, for seeing through me, for shoving me toward goodness. She eyed him deeply. Your story's yours, but I've watched. Kindness lurks under your burdens. Tonight, Frank unearthed it, and you showed him Eleanor's love endures in sharing. If you're hooked, subscribe to Midnight Tales for endless heartwarmers. 6 months on, David commanded his boardroom anew, not with cold ambition, but fiery purpose. Flanking executives, Frank, Helen, Millbrook reps. Hands steady with conviction, he unveiled the Eleanor Morrison Community Initiative, a lifeline for families battered by medical debts, ensuring love trumped ledgers. Frank teared up, Helen marveled at the metamorphosis. David, once Dave, now bridged worlds, visiting Millbrook weekends for Frank's company, evolving into family. His empire transformed, profit sharing, ethical growth, people-first policies. True fulfillment bloomed in dignity, not dividends. At the launch, Frank spoke, Eleanor taught loves for sharing. One note from Helen. It rippled, touching countless lives. Helen led outreach, her empathy guiding the lost. That night, back at Murphy's, David and Frank shared pie at table 6, now eternally reserved with a plaque, for love stories. Frank grinned, Eleanor would have adored you, the ones who grow into greatness. David fingered the preserved note, a talisman of transformation, simplicity sparks revolutions. Loved this. Like, comment your takeaways, and subscribe to Midnight Tales for more tales that ignite the soul. What's your act of kindness story? Let's inspire each other.